Police discretion plays a critical role in how officers handle difficult situations like the one presented. In this case, the officer must decide whether to charge the 17-year-old driver with driving after having consumed alcohol or the more serious driving while ability is impaired charge. According to research on discretion in law enforcement, officers often weigh legal statuses against practical considerations, including public safety, community trust, and available resources. Goldstein's classification of enforcement levels highlights that officers often exercise discretion based on factors beyond the law's strict wording, meaning the officer has flexibility in determining the appropriate course of action. In this situation, the urgency of getting the injured pregnant passenger medical attention complicates this decision. Community-oriented policing, or the abbreviation COP, emphasizes proactive engagement with the public, problem solving, and prioritizing community needs. If or following this model, the officer should focus on ensuring that the injured passenger receives medical care first, either by escorting the vehicle to urgent care or calling for EMS, which is the ambulance, before taking legal action against the driver. Beyond the immediate medical concern, the officer has to consider the long-term consequences for the young driver. As a 17-year-old college student majoring in elementary education, a serious conviction could negatively impact her future, including her ability to obtain teaching positions due to background checks and much more. While enforcing the law is needed, discretion allows officers to assess whether alternative options, like issuing a citation for the lesser charge or referring the driver to a diversion program, would be a more appropriate response. Some law enforcement agencies follow rehabilitative justice models, which focus on corrective measures rather than punitive actions, especially for first-time offenders and minors. Given the driver's age and the absence of a prior record, a non-criminal resolution aligns with these principles previously stated. In addition, because the driver is a minor, the officer should involve a responsible adult like a parent or guardian before finalizing any legal decisions. Another crucial factor in this case is how race and gender could potentially influence the officer's discretionary choice. Research shows that young white women are often treated more leniently in traffic stops and DUI cases compared to young men or people of color. If the driver in this scenario were a young Black or Latino woman, there would be an increased likelihood of harsher legal consequences due to implicit biases in law enforcement. Conversely, if the driver is perceived as privileged or from an affluent background, she may receive a lighter penalty. These disparities highlight a broader issue in policing, how discretionary decisions can either perpetuate or mitigate systemic biases. Officers must be trained to recognize these biases and make sure that discretion is applied fairly all across the board and all demographic groups can access it. The best course of action in this particular scenario is a balanced approach that prioritizes public safety, enforces the law responsibly, and considers the individual circumstances of the individuals involved. By making sure that the injured passenger receives a prompt medical care and opting for a lesser charge or a diversion program, the officer upholds both justice and fairness. This case raises an important question about the structure of police discretion. How can law enforcement agencies create guidelines that minimize bias while allowing officers the flexibility to respond appropriately to unique situations? Standardizing discretion through clear policies may reduce disparities, but it also risks limiting officers' ability to use judgment in complex and difficult situations and cases. The tension between fairness and flexibility remains a key challenge in modern day policing.